My name is Danielle Snyder, and I am speaking on behalf of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And this morning, we're going to talk about actually, you know what? It is afternoon for you all. It is morning where I am on the West Coast. And we are going to start and discuss how to prioritize certain values in your life and what matters most to you. So I know this is a presentation, but I also like to make it as interactive as possible. And there is a question or comment box, and I want to encourage you to interact with me as much as you want to, or these are questions that I really would like you to also be asking yourself. And I actually will be directing some exercises for you so you can, I am going to encourage you to participate and so you can get as much out of this presentation as you can. Okay, so I have gotten in the habit of starting these presentations with a meditation, and I am going to offer you all to join me in doing one. And I want you to start by making the space sacred. And what I mean by that is I want you to protect it. So let's try and turn off the devices, shut the door. You know, if you're working from home, tell your kids to be quiet. If they're not at school, put your dogs away, whatever it is. Do anything and everything you can in order to put some boundaries up around this space. And I want you to start by taking a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. We're going to use the next few minutes to really relax our bodies. There's so much tension throughout the day that we often don't even realize that we're holding tension in our shoulders or in our back or in our head. And it can really help to just release and focus on letting the tension drain for your body. So I want to imagine a warm towel or blanket to spread across your feet. I want you to feel the warmth ease into your soles and begin to spread through your feet up to your ankles. As you feel the warmth spread, allow your muscles to become soft, loose, and relax. Encourage the tension to melt away. Now, as you enjoy this brief moment of rest, I want you to turn to your breath. Our breath is so connected to our lifeline. We don't often take that space to focus on our breath. So I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale through your mouth. As you breathe in, take in peace. As you breathe out, let go of any negative self-talk or distracting concerns. As you start to breathe in, again, I want to encourage you to picture yourself as a sleeping bear. Feel your chest swell with power as you take deep breaths. Notice the strength in your shoulders and arms. Listen to the force as you breathe out. Continue to focus on your breath. Think about how you can be both calm and peaceful. Continue to notice your breath as you feel calm, connected, and confident. Take a deep breath in, exhale it out, and hold on to this feeling of calm, connection, and confidence. Anytime you start to feel anxious or stressed at work or at home, I want you to remember this moment and this feeling, and that your breath is a thread that can connect you back to this moment. I'm going to bring you back to the present, and with the count of 5, I want you to return to the room. 1, 2, slowly becoming more present. 3, 4, 5. Now you should be present, and we're going to keep holding on to this place being protected and try to let all the distractions of our busy life stay outside of our protected space. And you may be wondering, Danielle, what does this have to do with the important things in my life? And it has so much to do with the important things of your life, because it is so easy to get distracted and not be present day to day. A lot of our life is, and our priorities are about getting as much done as we can, making as much money, using every single moment of every single day to be as efficient and productive as possible. Actually, when I am working with people, a common question that I get is, how is this going to help me be more productive? And, this is a great question if productivity is on the top of your values and what matters to you in life. However, when we are always productive, always going, always moving, we lose the opportunity to reflect and have introspection, which really helps us check into life and say, okay, am I living a life that is meaningful to me? Am I making choices that reflect what I value? So I'm going to start by sharing my screen so you guys can see the PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. All right, great. So I like to start by talking about values, because when we're thinking about what matters most to us in life, a lot of times that it's connected to our value system. And there is a lot of information out there about what values are. However, there's not a lot of time or opportunity to reflect on, are these values my values? Are they society's values? Are they my family's values? My friends' values? You may also be thinking, what actually do people mean by values? And so I like to start by asking and encouraging you to ask yourself, what is your definition of values? Indeed.com actually does a definition that I find extremely helpful. And it talks about the fundamental core beliefs that guide your behaviors and goals and help you measure overall success in your life. So that, is in a kind of important reflection point of, you need to know how to define values in order to figure out what your values are. The more concrete and understood your values are, making decisions become easier. And in an ideal world, values would help guide our sense of right and wrong, and they're reflected in our day-to-day choices. Again, what happens, and one of the reasons why I started with the meditation, is because we don't have a lot of time to pause before we make decisions or allow ourselves to be present. So one of the things I like to really encourage people to do when they're being asked to make a decision or asked to be a part of something that takes their time away, I ask them to pause and to do this grounding exercise. So I'm actually going to take you guys through this grounding exercise. It's really simple. And it's something that anyone can do at any point. And it helps you go from your amygdala, which is responsible for reactions or our flight, fight, or freeze, and more into our prefrontal cortex. So I want to encourage you to play along and do this at home. So the first thing is going back to that breath, taking a deep breath in through our nose, exhaling through our mouth. I want you to look around your room and find 5 things the color blue. Then I want you to touch 4 different materials. I'm going to touch my hair, my jacket, the table, and then listen for 3 different sounds. Smell 2 different things. I have this abundance candle. It's calming. So I'm going to smell that. And I got some lavender on my desk, which is very calming. Smells great. And 1 different taste. So what you just did is quick grounding exercise, which lets you pause, uses all 5 of your senses, and really helps you become more present before you make a decision, engage in a conversation, anything like that. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, what are your values? Again, maybe in like health class in 8th grade, people ask us to sit down and write out our values, but for a lot of us, that hasn't been a question we've considered or thought about. So I actually want to give you 2 minutes, take some time and write out specifically what your values are. Here's just a list of a broad sweeping generalization of some values you may have. And I encourage you to do it on paper so you can actually refer back to it during this presentation, but also throughout your week and month after. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes right now, and I'm actually going to give you a few minutes, and I'm not going to rush this. And I want you to take some time and write down a few that pop out to you. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds. Okay, great. So one of the interesting things about values, the pause is, and being more mindful is really important. Another layer of this is how much we're spending, like how and why and what we're doing in our life. So a lot of times, if we are not taking care of our basic needs, which is like getting enough sleep, moving our body, eating enough or the right things, it's really hard to go on to that next level of really prioritizing what is important in our lives. And so this is not me saying that all those things need to be done in order to prioritize values. I just want to, again, kind of really, really strongly encourage you to take care of yourself, because it is hard to do changes when we're not taking care of ourselves. If we're exhausted all the time, then it's really hard to prioritize our values. Let's say, for instance, one of our values is to be patient, but we're not getting enough sleep. What do you think happens? Well, I know personally, I am not my best self when I'm not getting enough sleep. It doesn't matter that that's like number one on my value list is being patient. If I'm not doing these basic needs, I just don't have it within myself. So the first thing that I really like to encourage people to do before the next step is really considering like how much time they take for themselves, and if it is in their, like if they're taking care of themselves essentially. So I'm actually going to go back, and I want you to look and think, how do you illustrate these values in your life? With the caveat, I actually did this presentation a couple of weeks ago, and someone had a great point that sometimes because we are so busy, our values just physically can't connect to how we're living our day-to-day life. And what I am here to offer for you all is how to fit in and make small steps towards creating a more balanced life in order to prioritize the values. Now, it's not going to be perfect. Let's say family is really important to you. You're not going to be spending every single minute of every single day with your family. That's just, probably not good for anyone, but also be not feasible. However, when we go to the next step, how can you be more present with your family? Let's say you only have 15 minutes with your family. That can still reflect and be instrumental in honoring your values if you're fully present. So you put down your phone for those 15 minutes. So I just want to kind of get to start encouraging creativity when thinking about our values and what matters to us and how to connect it to our life. So the first thing I want you to do is take a look at your schedule. I actually happen to have a paper schedule because I really enjoy being able to look at everything written out. However you kind of go day to day with your schedule, I want you to take a look at it. And I want you to see what and think by looking at your value list, what do you want more in your life? And as you're looking, I want you to think about the things that you're doing that are not written down. So are you spending 5 to 10 minutes looking at Pinterest or on Instagram? Are you getting lost in conversations that are not meaningful to you? Are you shopping? I mean, and maybe one of your values is shopping, and awesome. That means you're aligning. But, I want you to look outside of what you just put on your schedule. And think almost about adding those things that you're doing into your schedule. I don't know how many people have iPhones, but I recently have been paying attention to how much time I'm on my phone throughout the day. And it was honestly shocking. Like, nowhere in my values is phone time, but I am spending so much time on my phone. And I've started to like put it in my schedule that I am like, when I am spending all this time on my phone, and I'm like, okay, I need to find a way to spend less time on my phone so I can use those moments to do something that is important to me, like read. So, what the next step is creating a SMART goal. And I'm sure in fifth grade, you probably heard about this, or maybe you still are doing them, but it's a specific, measurable, actionable, reasonable, and timely goal. And you may be saying to yourself, well, this isn't like creative, or this is very specific. But the problem, a lot of times when we're thinking about values and what matters most in our life, is we want it to just happen. And the truth is that if we don't make a concrete plan and develop steps, it's not going to just happen, because we have to live with intention in our life, and change is hard. It's not about us not wanting to change. A lot of times it's just we don't have a plan, and then when it doesn't work, we get discouraged. So the more we can be as specific and measurable as possible, the better the outcome is going to be. So the kind of the last layer is making sure to ask for accountability. So I'm going to start with an example. Let's say one of your goals or values is to spend more time with your family. And so, ideally in our minds, the way that usually plays out is like, okay, I need to spend this huge chunk of time with my family in order for it to start to be meaningful for me. And I actually want to offer a different solution. So my specific goal may be on Thursday, instead of leaving work like I usually do and dilly-daddling at 6:30, I'm going to leave at my assigned time at 6. And I am going to practice this for 2 weeks, one time. And when I get home, I'm going to spend 15 minutes with my family without any phones. And we're going to talk about our day, or, something like that. But the point is that it is like very specific. It's measurable. For a lot of people, we have 15 minutes to spare. And that time, even though short, can be extremely meaningful. So what could be some of the challenges with this? Well, I know for me, it is pretty common that I get distracted right before I'm about to leave work. So I put an alarm on my phone at 5:50 that I need to start closing up shop. And then I'm, that coworker that I'm actually pretty good friends with next to me, I'm going to say, hey, this is something I'm working on. My family is really important to me, and I'm not using my time effectively after 6 anyways. So if you see me at my desk next Thursday at 5:50, can you remind me? And then I'm probably going to tell my family too, because if this is something that I'm creating in my head, but I'm not telling anyone, life's hard. It's hard to follow through. So that accountability piece, sorry, it's my puppy, is really difficult if we don't have other people to rely on. So I could keep talking at you, but I do at least want to give the opportunity, if anyone has something that they want to work on, they can drop it in the chat and we can go through that. Because sometimes it helps to have another person to talk to to find that creative lens in order to find the space in our life. And it also doesn't have to be during this presentation. It can be with someone you're close to help you brainstorm. But the key to this concept is find out what your values are. Make sure they're important to you, because if they are someone else's values, it is going to be really, really hard to prioritize them, especially if it's like something that society's saying or something that you were raised with that doesn't feel meaningful. The next part is looking at your schedule and recognizing how and where we have a little wiggle room. And you may not have any wiggle room. And if that's the case, then this might be a season where you have to be even more creative. And the next thing is to find a way to start to do a SMART goal, which is being as specific, measurable, actionable, reasonable, and timely as possible. And finally, it's ask for that accountability. I'm going to stop my share. And we have a couple of minutes, and I can keep talking to you about things, but I do like to just make sure I have time for questions and see if anyone has any thoughts before I give one more tip for you all. Okay, well, you can feel free to drop it in, but the more we can be present and mindful in life, the better able we are to be aware of our decisions and be aware of how we're using our time. In order for our values to be reflected in our lives, it doesn't mean every single thing that you're doing. It can be little bits and pieces that you just start to be a little bit more aware and align what's important to you. Because in a life that we don't live consciously, essentially, gives us a lot of room to make choices that don't feel valuable to us. So start small, little changes, little steps. I know it can be frustrating, but the smaller these steps are, the more reasonable and the easier the change will be. I have crammed a ton into this half an hour. Thank you for listening and being present. And I hope you all take care.